Erikson's stages of human development. This is also known as Erikson's psychosocial stages. Erikson has 8 stages, and I'll go through each of them. I'll talk about the age and the associated virtues related to the specific age, the development task, and also the mastery and failures of each developmental stages that we have. So let's start off with the first developmental stage. It's called infancy. Now, infancy is age between birth to 1 year, and the associated virtue that is related with this age group is hope. The developmental task that Erikson states in this age group is trust versus mistrust. Now, when a child is able to master trust during this phase, during this age group, they're going to be able to form a meaningful relationship. They're going to have hope about the future. They're going to be able to trust others. Is my world safe? Can I trust this person? Children develop a sense of trust when they are with their caregivers. And so overall, this relationship, this trust, provides them with reliability. It provides them with care and affection. So a lack of this will lead for the child to have mistrust. So they will have poor relationship. They'll have lack of future hope, suspicious of other people. Okay, so that's going to be the failure of this age group. Now, let's take a look at the second stage. The second stage is early childhood. This focuses at the age group of 2 to 3 years old, and the associated virtue is will. Now, this age group, Erikson calls it autonomy versus shame and doubt. Now, this is the age group that the child is getting toilet training, they're learning to dress independently, they're asking themselves, can I do things by myself, or do I need someone to rely on? And children at this point, they need to develop a sense of personal control over physical skills and a sense of independence. So when they are having the success leads to the feeling of autonomy. And any failure that this age group is having is going to result in feelings of shame and doubt. And so when there is a mastery of this developmental age, you're going to see a self-control, self-esteem. You're going to see this child have willpower. And if there is a failure, you're going to see this child have poor self-control, low self-esteem, self-doubt, lack of independence. Also, I want you to know is this is the age group that's going to be asking, is it okay to be me? This is where will comes in. Is it okay to be me? Remember, this is going to be the age group that's associated with toilet training, clothing themselves. All right, so let's take a look at the third stage. Third stage is late childhood. Now, this is the age that is between 4 to 6 years of age, and the associated virtue is purpose. So, at this age group, Erikson titles this age group to be initiative versus guilt. And remember, the important event that takes place during this age group is going to be exploration and play. Am I good or am I bad? Children at this age group, they need to begin asserting control and power over the environment. So, success in this state is going to lead them to see a sense of purpose. Children need to begin asserting control and power over the environment, and success in this state leads that child to have a sense of purpose. And children who try to exert too much power experience disapproval, and that results in a sense of guilt. So, when you think about the purpose, they're going to be asking, is it okay for me to do this? Is it okay for me to move or act or do certain things? These kids at this age are exploring, they're using tools or making art. So now let's take a look at the fourth stage, which is school age, and this is between 7 to 12 years of age. The associated virtue that is related to this age group is competence, and Erikson labels this stage developmental task to be industry versus inferiority. And so, what takes place? This is going to be the child that's going to be in school, they're learning activities, they're doing things, and they're asking themselves, how can I be good? Children need to cope with new social and academics. demands as it comes. And success of this leads to a sense of competence. And when there is a failure of each of these, this is going to result in feelings of inferiority. So, mastery of this would be ability to work. They would have a sense of competency and achievement. And a failure to this would be a sense of inferiority. They have difficulty working and learning. The fifth stage is adolescence, and this is the age between 13 to 20 years. And the associated virtue is fidelity. Erikson labels this age to be in identity versus confusion. Identity versus confusion. And so this is the age group that is going to um, have social relationships. They're going to try to identify themselves. They are going to ask themselves, who am I and where am I going? And so this is teens. Teens need to have a sense of self and personal identity. And a success to this leads them to stay true to themselves. And a failure in this age group is going to be role confusion and a weak sense of self. So, an indication of mastery in this age group is going to be having a personal sense of identity. And a failure of this age group is going to be identity confusion. They are going to have poor self identification in group settings. Let's take a look at Erikson's sixth stage. It's early adulthood. This is between the ages of 21 to 35 years. And the associated virtue is love. Erikson labels this age to be having intimacy versus isolation. Now, this intimacy versus isolation, we can see that when we have a partner, when we get into intimate relationships. You're asking, am I loved and wanted? Can I love? And you can see when young adults go through this age, they're forming an intimate relationship. They're wanting a loving relationships with other people. And success of this will lead to a strong relationship, while a failure of this is going to lead them to a loneliness and isolation. So you can see in this age group that they tend to form intimate, loving relationships with other people. And a success of this is going to be bringing them a strong relationship, while a failure of this relationship is going to lead to a loneliness or isolation. And so think of romantic relationships during this age group. You're dating, you're seeing people, and this is the age group that's associated with that. So moving forward, here we have number 7. It's called middle adulthood, and this is the age group between 36 to 65 years of age. And the associated virtue is care. Erikson calls this group to be generativity versus self-absorption or stagnation. This age group focuses on work and parenthood. Will I be able to provide something real value? And adults, they need to create at this point or nurture things in their life that would outlast them. And by having children or by creating a positive change in the environment, and benefiting other people, right? So, a success of this will lead them to a feeling of usefulness and accomplishment. And a failure of this, we can see, is going to lead them to a shallow involvement in the world. So, a mastery of this age group is going to give them the time and talents to other people, and they have the ability to care for other people. And a failure of this age group is going to be self absorption. And there is, in this age group, there's going to be inability to grow and change as a person and even care for other people. Number 8 is late adulthood. This is the last stage in Erikson's stages of human development. And we can see that this stage, we have people that are 66 years and older. The associated virtue in this stage is going to be wisdom. And Erikson calls this stage to be integrity versus despair. This is the time when people are reflecting on their life and asking themselves, have I lived a full life? Is it okay to have been me? And we can see when there is fulfillment and comfort with life, they've attained a mastery. Their willingness to face death, insight, and balance on perspective on life events. So, in this stage, the older adults need to look back on life and feel a sense of fulfillment. And a success at this state is going to lead them with a feeling of wisdom. And while failure in this stage is going to result in regret, they're going to feel bitterness, they're going to feel despair. And so, again, mastery in this stage is going to lead them to a fulfillment and comfort with life, their willingness to face death. They have an insight and balanced perspective on their life's event. And a failure in this stage is going to lead them to bitterness. They're going to have dissatisfaction with life, and they're going to have despair over their impending death. So note that in this PowerPoint, I have the associated virtues related with the age group. And so that is important. And I think that's a key feature to help you remember what age group we're in. And to help you remember that, you need to know this mnemonic called How, PoCo FooL CoW. And how, the first letter from how is going to remind you that it's hope. The W from how will help you remember will. The P from PoCo is going to help you remember purpose. C for competency, and F for fidelity, L for love, C for care, and W for wisdom. How, PoCo FooL CoW. The way I try to remember this table is by writing down 1 to 8. I know the first stage is infancy, so I write that down. And I try to remember fourth stage is school age, and the fifth is adolescent. So once I fill those in on those spots, I know that there's 2 spots between infancy and school age. That's going to be your childhood. It's going to be early and late. And then the stages after 5, which is adolescent, after that is going to be everything adulthood. So early, middle, and late adulthood. So once I have that written down, I try to go across and I say to myself, okay, what is the age that's associated with infancy? Or I'll just write the mnemonic, How, PoCo FooL CoW, to help me remember hope, will, purpose, competence, fidelity, love, care, and wisdom. So that will help me narrow down on the age as well, and to help me remember what age each one is associated with. And once from there, I go across to the next box and I say to myself, what is the developmental task that Erikson had labeled? And that is going to be, trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus confusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation or self-absorption, and last, integrity versus despair. What helps me to remember the developmental task is 1, the age and also the stage. And if I can remember either or, the associated virtue or the age will help me narrow down the developmental task. So this is helpful when you're taking the PMHNP exam, because when you're taking that PMHNP exam, you might find yourself answering a question on Erikson's stage and wasting a lot of time into that question. So when you get that time to write down a little bit of notes, cheat sheet time, or to make that dump list that I've previously mentioned in one of my videos, go ahead, take that time to write this down. This is very important, and there are some questions that come from this specifically. You don't have to write it down if you already know it. And, for me personally, I feel like this is very helpful. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I'll see you in the next video.